bench at
At the
the
bench.
episode 14.
14. I used to count them up with my fingers, but I can't count that high.
Yeah.
I don't have 14 fingers.
So, what is going on in the world of Greg Platzer, guitar repair, guitar artist,
Let
guitar,
me let
everything?
me let me turn it up a little
Platzer
louder.
guitars, everybody is in the house.
Yeah. The hearing thing. Uh, Anybody that doesn't know, I had a hard time hearing that into my right ear since I was a little kid. But back in the spring, I was minding my own business, petting a dog on the couch, watching TV, and suddenly this ear just stopped working. Now, I went to a specialist. They did an MRI. They did an audio test, which um, you sit in a little room and then they put headphones on and they play little noises and you're supposed to say this side, that side, or they say words and you're supposed to repeat the words back. And I did very poorly. And I have to say, I have a lifetime of riding motorcycles, shooting guns, and playing loud rock and roll. And honestly, it's not the guitars or bass or anything. It's the damn cymbals. Um, and so I got all tested out, and they had this idea that perhaps they would pierce my eardrum and then inject liquid prednisone into my ear canal in the interest of reducing inflammation, hoping that that would fix the problem. So uh, oh, and before they did that, they went in there and looked, and they run a scope in. They give you a local anesthetic at your nose, and then they basically run this thing up in and all the way back into your ear canal, and that's something nobody wants to go through, man. Not enough coffee in the world. And so they did that to me several times, trying to find what was going on. And uh, so for 3 weeks, they injected prednisone in my ear canal, and um, no changes, none. So recently, I went on Insta and my Facebook professional page. I don't use my regular Facebook page anymore. I'll log in and promote a gig, like I'm playing this Saturday doing acoustic with Brian Seneca at Blue Sky Tavern. It's their second year anniversary, and we're gonna have a great time.
Mhm.
Um, so there's that going on, and by the time most people see this, that's no longer relevant information. But with Facebook, I'll log on and I'll promote the band or a charity. But I pretty much have stepped away from Facebook. But on Instagram, I put a post about my hearing, and I'm fortunate that a lot of people in the professional industry um, follow me on Instagram and are friends of mine, and several people reached out with excellent information. So um, I now know what Steve Lukather and Brad Whitford and a few other guys use. And Ron from the Badleys, when they played at XL recently, he and I were talking, and he told me about the appliances he uses. And Rod, when you and I were little, and people had hearing augmentation, it was usually like a big cream plastic something whatever, or well,
Mhm.
when I was little, it was a big horn. But anyway, um, well, now they're very sophisticated. They've got these in-ear things that you can pop up your telephone and you can set the EQ and everything via Bluetooth, and you can actually listen to music with them, and for uh, answer telephone calls. And Ron from the Badleys actually has the click track put into his hearing aids, which is awesome. And I thought, well,
Ron is the drummer.
yeah, I do a lot of studio work. I love click tracks,
Yeah.
so if I could do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not embarrassed about a lot of people. They don't want the world to know that they wear hearing aids. I don't care, man. Make them neon orange. I don't care.
Yeah.
So um
I don't know. I
well,
don't know
there's
why you'd be don't be like don't be embarrassed. And I think it's really cool that you're telling people like what is that
yeah,
education?
well,
An education.
what can I
Hey,
do about it? What
yeah.
can I do about it? And the thing is, yeah, I wish I could be. Wow, you're breaking up. You're like, your connection is awful.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
It says your internet connection is unstable. It's my connection.
I don't
My
know.
connection is unstable. It might murder me at any moment.
Well, hopefully not.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so I'm looking into a few different manufacturers. It's looking like it's going to cost me around $4,000.
Hmm.
But there is a government agency, and I can't think of it right now. But anybody wants it, reach out to me, and I'll tell you. Um,
Okay,
at
well,
least I
what?
know the one in the state of Pennsylvania. It's an occupational thing, and since I need my ears to perform my work, they subsidize the purchase of the hearing aids,
Hmm.
and so I'm looking into that. So I will give updates as we go through numbers 15, 16, 17, and whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. It's a subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but um,
I think it's also worth noting that drummers, when you're practicing, you got to wear these earphones. Put
yeah,
those earphones on. Don't be cool.
save yourself from those
Yeah.
symbols.
Yeah,
Hey, you
because
know what? Here's a better idea. Don't hit the cymbals as damn hard as
right.
most guys do.
Yeah, it's not a hatchet.
Yeah. But
I
so that's one of the things that's going on. And I got to say, when I've always had problems hearing, and so um, I've missed out on a lot, and I'm well aware of it. In fact, when Sarah and I are doing guitar tones, mine are. She always says my guitar tones are so bright to her ears, and they sound fine to me because I just don't have any high end. Well, now with my left ear going out, it's useless, and so I need to do something. So I'm looking forward to getting to the point where I can a b what I hear and what other people hear whose hearing I trust, and try to get these things dialed in,
mhm.
so that I'm can
That's
just
like kind of exciting. New age of hearing.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have fun with them. And the really cool thing is just turn them off when I'm riding and get rid of the wind noise,
Yeah.
And I wear a helmet. I wear a half shell helmet most of the time. This time of year, I have an open face helmet, so it keeps my ears a little warmer. And the wind noise is definitely a problem. Um, but it'll be kind of cool to be able to just shut that off. Or uh, I like you get these guys and they have the big stereos on their bikes and they're cranking Leonard Skinner at the stoplight, and you're sitting there going, "Oh, for God's sake, cut it out." But I have friends that have like speakers built into their helmets, and they listen to music when they're riding. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I kind of like just being in the moment,
Hmm.
getting away from organized noise. When I'm riding, I like to experience what's going on, and but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, I mean old Uncle Greg is deaf,
I'm
and
not far behind.
what?
I'm not. Always.
How many times? How many times now?
It's still funny though. It's still funny. Yeah, I'm not far behind. What?
So,
Deaf jokes are always funny.
well,
You gotta
yeah.
laugh. You gotta laugh at yourself. Well, no,
Well,
you're taking measures to make your improving your life.
trust me, when you're me, you laugh at yourself every day.
All right. Well, good.
But so that's going on. Hey, uh, also won't be prudent after this week, but the Philadelphia Guitar Show is going on this weekend. Too much.
Okay.
And let's talk about guitar shows.
All
Let's talk
right.
about guitar business. Let's talk about marketing and whatever. As many of the people know, I owned a guitar shop for 27 years, BCR Music in Lemoyne, and um, selling new products and selling used products, drastically different approach. With new products, manufacturer will have a list price and a wholesale price, and it's up to the retailer to make money off of the wholesale, but try not to ask the list price because nobody's going to buy it.
Hmm.
And at some point, many, many years ago, somebody decided that they were selling the same thing as somebody else, so they decided that they would sell more if they asked less for each article, and discounting happened. Well, discounting has gotten to the point now where, let's say, the cost of an article is $1. The general public wants to pay $1.10 or $1.20. So the retailer has to basically cover all of their costs with 10 or 20 cents above their dollar cost.
Yeah.
And there are retailers out there that all they do is take the order and have the product drop shipped, or they take it into their warehouse. It comes in one door, and the truck gets unloaded, and it just goes right onto other trucks, and out the door it goes. And those guys can afford to do that. But when you have a brick and mortar store and a
Yes.
mortgage and staff, and um, every member that you add on staff adds all kinds of government costs and everything like that, it's very hard for brick and mortar to,
Compete with that.
or even exist.
Yes.
So the margins need to be made up somewhere, and that's where used guitars come into play. Now, my rule of thumb when I had BCR is I would pay 2/3 of what I would sell it for. And I was an anomaly because many of my compatriots uh, will at least double their investment, if not triple their investment.
Mm-hmm.
And there they made up their stuff. But my philosophy was always, if something's selling for $100 used, I would try to sell it for $90 so that it was a better deal than everybody else. But I would also go through and make sure that everything on that guitar or amp or whatever was brought up to tip top condition.
Yeah.
And then I guarantee that, you're buying this thing used from me, but I've already gone through it. Everything's good. And based on my reputation, uh, it worked out really, really well. We made our money on the used products. So you sold new to bring people in the store, but you made your money up on used products and accessories
Yeah.
until the internet came along. And then with the internet, I mean, when it was just mail order, it was one thing. But with the internet now, you had eBay basically wiped out probably half of the brick and mortar stores almost immediately. And let's say that many of those probably shouldn't have been in business. And we've covered this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, with fewer and fewer brick and mortar stores to go to, it's harder and harder to try instruments out. So, like Guitar Center or Musician's Friend or any of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
Sweetwater, they have very generous return policies, um, which again, brick and mortar guys can't even match. But even then, if you want to try out a Telecaster Custom and a regular Tele and a Tele Deluxe, and see what they're like, you can't go into a store, pull them off the wall, unless Guitar Center has them. And if Guitar Center has them, they're probably crappy examples of said instrument.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Guitar Center's in the business of throwing stuff out the front door, not setting it up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can tell you that it's very rare that I walk into a Guitar Center and I'll pull down a guitar and it's even tuned, much less set up.
Yeah.
So guitar shows came to be, and they were existing a little before the internet, but not long. I mean, other than Arlington or Dallas, but they really, once the internet started, guitar shows exploded. And for a while there in the mid to late 90s, every weekend here on the East Coast, there was either, you'd have DC, you'd have Pittsburgh, you'd have Philly, you've had Elmira, you'd have,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever. There were guitar shows everywhere. And some weekends they would be doubled or tripled up, and they would be competing for people. But the cool thing about guitar shows is, like, I just said, like,
A lot. Yeah.
did I say it a lot?
Mm. It's all right.
No, it's not. But
Yes. I'm not
uh,
judging.
I've been going to the Philly show since the early 90s. and it's the big East Coast show.
Yeah.
And at the heyday, it was at the Sheraton in Valley Forge, and you would walk into a room with 300,000 guitars.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on the number, but well over 100,000. I know that. And now the show has shrunk considerably. In fact, last year it just started back up after COVID. But the cool thing about guitar shows, the ones that have survived, is that you can go to a guitar show, pay a modest amount of money to get in, usually around $10, and they usually take $1 off if you bring an instrument in to sell. And you can walk around, you can try things that you've only seen on the internet or
Yeah.
in magazines or whatever. And for me, it's kind of fun because I've been in this long enough now that I've seen just about everything. So when I'm at a guitar show and I see a guitar I've not experienced, I get pretty happy about it. And like, oh, look at that! There's a 1980s Grieco Les Paul. I
Yeah.
gotta play that, you know. And 9 times out of 10, whoever owns it is willing to allow you to, bang out a couple
Yeah.
chords on it, as long as you're not disrespectful.
Yeah.
Um, when I used to set up at the Philly show, I freely allowed people to try guitars because they're not going to buy if they don't try. And some dealers, you know, the adage, flash some cash. In other words, if you're going to buy it, I'll let you try it. But if you don't want to buy it, I'm not even going to let you touch it. Those guys come and go. But the interesting thing about guitar shows is that's really become the only place where you can go and try out several different platforms,
Yeah.
see what things feel like. You can read on the internet like a 50s Les Paul style neck. And I recently used a Les Paul, a beautiful wine red Les Paul Standard Plus 2007, gorgeous flame maple top, absolutely beautiful guitar. And it was sold to me as having a 50s neck. So I bought the guitar and it was shipped to me and it arrived in beautiful condition, perfectly packed, had the sticker on the truss rod cover from Gibson, said 50s neck. And I wrapped my hand around it and it was unlike the several 50s necks that I already own. My 50s necks are actual 50s Gibson guitars.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that Gibson is selling the idea, but not the application of the
Yeah.
50s neck.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when modeling amps came to be. And I remember when I had a Vox AC30 on my sales floor, and I had a Goya Rangemaster pedal
Mm-hmm.
and this guy came in and he saw the Vox and he goes, "Oh, you sound just like Brian May with that." And I said, "Oh yeah, you sure can." And he goes, "Well, I can do that at home because I have a Line 6 Spider and it has the setting on there and it sounds exactly like an AC30." I said, "Oh, it does." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Why don't you?"
You sold line 6, did you not?
No, no,
You never
never,
did that?
never sold Line 6.
Okay.
So I invited the guy to bring it in. So he went home and he got it and brought it in all cocky, like, yeah, yeah. And we set them side by side. And at the time, I did sell the Brian May guitars. And so we took down one of the red special, Brian May red special guitars, and I ran it through the Rangemaster into the AC30, and I handed it to him. And I said, "Play." And he was a fairly good Queen player, and he played "Tie Your Mother Down," which we all do, and he played "I'm in Love with My Car" and a couple other songs. And he's like freaking out. He's like, "Oh, this is great." And I said, "All right, now plug into your Line 6." And he plugged in and he just made one note and he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I get it." He ended up buying the Vox and the Rangemaster because he could afford it.
Yeah.
Tried to trade the Line 6 in and I wouldn't take it. And
Poor line 6 always takes a beating.
well, it's crap. I mean, it's really not good stuff.
Yeah.
And
I have
so
many. Did you know this about me?
I'm not surprised
Well, and why?
because you're always looking for whatever is a new or different tone.
No,
No,
they're affordable. They're affordable.
affordable.
They're affordable, like for my band classes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it would be wonderful to have.
Let's talk
I
about
don't have a sponsor.
yet. Um,
So in
let
other words, the line sixes, they work for rehearsal spots.
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect for you.
They
And
they
before
they
line
serve a
six,
function. But
Before
yeah,
line
I get what
six,
you're saying though.
before line six, it was PV. I mean, when I was teaching,
Have those two
I had
for the
little
same reason.
PV decade amps.
Hmm.
They were $79.
Yep.
They were 10 watts, and they sounded all right. And I had one in every studio, and well, I had two in every studio,
Hmm.
and I could do that. And then the custom with a K came about. In fact, if you look right there, that's my little custom KGA 10 amp, which has been the bench amp for since 1995.
Hmm.
Every guitar I have worked on, from Aerosmith to Cheap Trick to
Hmm.
Steely Dan to Lita Ford, everybody has been played through that amp right there. It won't die. So inexpensive, easy to operate, that will always exist. And for me, Line 6 should have marketed themselves like that. But what they did was they tried to tell everybody, like this
That that
intelligent
that
gentleman,
they're a
oh, you
Kemper.
don't need all that other stuff because you can get it all out of this. And
Yeah,
that wasn't true.
that's true.
Ironically enough, now there is a company called Kemper,
Yep.
Kemper, that does give you something that you literally don't need all the vintage stuff anymore. The experience of owning it and playing it will never ever be replaced by,
Yes.
I don't care how sophisticated a piece of equipment is. When you turn on an old amp and you smell that old amp smell and everything, and there's an interaction there that I don't care how good my Kemper is. When I fire up, I have a 59 basement, tweed 59 basement in the living room. And when I turn that thing on and I shake the floor and I'll plug an old Les Paul Jr. into it and I'll crank that sucker up. Nothing replaces that. But that being said, when I play out, I can bring that amp and a myriad of other amps to the show. And basically I'm playing through them because they're modeled into the Kemper. And so, like, Michael Britt from the band Lone Star is the guy for profiles.
Yep.
And my two primary tones on my Kemper are a JCM 800 that he profiled. And then he set up, using Eric Johnson's Plexi head, he set up a Van Halen profile. It sounds exactly like Van Halen on Ain't Talking About Love.
Hmm.
And those are the two I go back and forth
Hmm.
with. And I
There's a plexi I use a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so
Rhythm.
much great stuff, and run direct to the PA sounds great, but on stage I'm running through a cabinet, so I'm getting that wonk, and that I need that. I can't just play into in ears. I can't do it. I got to have a cabinet, and because I'm deaf. Once I
Right.
have better hearing,
Well, it's the texture of feel too.
yeah, but I might forgo the cabinet just to make it easier on the sound man once I have my ear sorted out. We'll see. I mean, I'm open to change. I've been using the first solid state amp I got. Like, a lot of guys are tube freaks and it's all about tubes. The first solid state amp I got was a Gallion Kruger 250 ML back in the late 80s. It was we called him the lunchbox.
I
And
still have one.
yeah, I have two of them still. And unbelievable, a little too processed on the distortion, but the clean with the built-in stereo chorus was
Yep.
like Rockman done right. And back when I was in Citizen Kane, I ran a Marshall uh, 412, a Marshall into a 412, and I ran the Gallion Kruger into a 412. So the distortion just added a little bit of snap above the saggy Marshall, but then I could add that clean on top of the distorted Marshall and get an amazing guitar tone into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
front. And so
That was my 1987 good amplifier. That was my Berkeley amp.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great amps. And the only thing that's wrong with both of mine, the speakers have deteriorated. So
Oh,
I have to get new speakers. And Gallien Kruger still makes them. So one of these days I'm gonna get some. Except I don't really need the amps. But from there, then there was I don't know if you remember the Sans amp, which was a pedal that was the first really good direct recording interface,
hmm.
and it came before anybody even needed something like that. And their first guitar amp that they ever made was called the Trademark 60, and it was 60 watts, two channel with a global lead boost, a single 12 combo, and it was built like a tank. And the distorted sound was amazing. You could really get like the vintage Marshall sort of thing. But the cool thing is when you rolled the volume back and played lighter, the dynamic shifted back, like on a tube amp. Still not quite replacing a tube amp.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And with Grumpy Old Men, Steve Clay and I ran those. We ran direct into the PA with those for I think we like 12 years. We used those, and people come out and go, "My God, what amps are you guys using?" We'd point to these little single 12 combos. They go, "There's no way that's them." We'll run direct into the PA.
Hmm.
So I'm no stranger to running direct, and the Kemper now is just light years ahead of everything. And
Yeah, my next acquisition is getting the foot pedal.
oh yeah, yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
You can switch it on the fly, and it has the tuner interrupt too. Um, the cool thing about the tuner is like I always run. I've been using either a Boss or what is the other tuner? I don't know, but anyway, I always run my tuner on the whole time because I've been in a two guitar band for years, and so when the other guy's doing important stuff, I can just hit open notes and check my tuning. And with the Kemper um, on the foot pedal, there's a mute so that you can tune that automatically goes to the strobe tuner. But when you're not using it, it still gives you a little light that says if you're sharp or flat.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really kind of nice. They thought of everything. The only thing that the Kemper doesn't have is Bluetooth, but they literally thought of everything with those. There's every possible output on them.
You ought to have a Kemper thing, a Kemper at the bench discussion where we just discuss it
You know
and,
what?
and best sounds
I'm
and
not competent enough to do that yet.
well, we could have special guests,
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Michael
You know,
Brett.
yeah. Well, Sarah Sheriff, my
Yeah,
girlfriend,
yeah,
she is an authority on Kemper, and
yes,
we could probably get Mr. Britt to
yeah,
come in remotely and
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, that would be fascinating. We
That would
we
be
should
wonderful.
probably, and we should promote that so that when we get there, people aren't like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known about this."
Yeah.
But yeah, the Kemper is a game changer. In fact, I recently used my Kemper in the studio last year for the Grumpy song that was on the Joy to the Berg record. And Joy to the Berg is a charity in Harrisburg where local musicians perform on what was a CD and now it's a download or whatever. Technology changes so fast, but basically, it's local musicians getting together, recording Christmas songs, and then the sale of this uh, combined recording helped fund a overnight women's shelter, which we did not have in Harrisburg.
Mhm.
And so if a woman was in trouble, she was getting roughed up, her husband, partner, whatever was treating her poorly, her only option in Harrisburg was to find a friend's place to stay at or check herself in for 30 days. And now, because we have helped start this overnight center, now
Mhm.
we can have a situation where if somebody's having a tough time at home, they can get away for a day or two or three or five, and they can bring their children, and that's important.
Yeah.
So it's called Joy to the Berg. They have a Facebook, they have a website, and I've been fortunate enough to have put a song on each CD from I think it was 2018, 19, or no, 19, 20, 21, and now 22.
Mhm.
I got on the first three with my band Grumpy, and then this year I got on as Greg Platzer and Associates. And so I recorded a song with the internationally respected Michael Giblin, who plays with Split Squad with
Mhm.
Klemberg, and also has a band called Parallax Project. And he
Yeah.
has a fantastic studio.
Hmm.
And
Good
I
taste.
reached out to him,
Good
and I
taste in
said,
music too.
"Yeah, yeah, he likes really cool stuff."
Yeah.
And I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, would you be willing to work with me on this?" He said, "Absolutely." I used Logan Bedard on drums, who's a 19-year-old amazing drummer, and the ever fantastic Amy Simpson on background vocals.
Mhm.
And I actually wrote the song the night before the session and went in there with just a rough idea. And God bless Mike Giblin, he fleshed it out, blew it up, and by the end of the day, we had a full blown, excellent sounding production. And so it made it onto the record. And then they asked if I would perform the song. So I'm getting them with the addition of Brian Seneca, who plays in my band Primetime Heroes, a tremendous singer and guitar player. And we're going to perform a half an hour set.
It's wonderful.
So we're going to do the grumpy songs and this song. And then Amy selected a couple more. I'm not going to tell you, you'll have to come to the event. But it's December 11th at the Englewood in Hershey. It's a fundraiser, so tickets are $35 a head. But the performances are several artists, including, but not limited to, Greg Platzer and Associates. And then following us is Shay Quinn. And then following him is the headliner of the Jelly Bricks. And they are magnificent.
Mhm.
And there's a bunch of other artists, and if I had prepared this, I would read it off to you. But the bottom line is, if you go to Facebook and find Joy to the Berg, or I think it's joytotheberg.com, you can get involved. You can buy not only this year's, but you can still buy all the previous year's
Mhm.
recordings as well. And um, the money goes to help people that really, really need
It's
help. And
wonderful. The good work.
I'm all about that. I'm all
Good
about
work.
that. So,
So
and I'm using,
where do we stand with guitar shows? The Philly. So you were
we stand on
talking,
our own 2 feet is where we stand with guitar. Oh,
huh?
okay. So I started talking about Philly. So yeah, Philly's coming up this weekend. And my buddy Matt Baker from Action Music is always there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I help him out at his booth.
Hmm.
In fact, for those of you that might be aware of what I do, Justin, the fella with the Les Paul, the fella being
Hmm.
treated for cancer, I just resurrected his broken Les Paul. It was at the summer Philly show that his wonderful sister dropped the guitar off to me.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the guitar show, I wouldn't have got the opportunity
I
to
saw
fix.
you at a guitar show probably in the mid '90s,
You
and
did.
you screamed across the room. You something got you sexy bastard, or
Well, I'm sure you were looking like a sexy child of
I
unmarried
probably look like
parents.
Jesus. I had
Yeah,
the,
fucking room. Everybody goes, Jesus.
yeah, right.
But
But this weekend of the guitar show, we Joy to the Berg,
Joy the Berg, December 11th.
December 11th.
Tickets go on sale on 3 November.
Hmm.
So I know that for a fact because my mom wanted to know. And my mom, who is awesome,
How
will
was your
be.
mom doing?
Oh, yeah. My
Good.
mom, she's my biggest fan. And she's
Well,
cool.
good.
At 86, she hasn't slowed down at all.
That's wonderful.
And she will be there probably dancing while we perform. And
Hmm.
the cool thing is, um, we're literally going to have like one rehearsal because Michael is in Europe with Split Squad, so he's getting back just in time for us to do like one rehearsal. But we're going to rehearse in little pockets, different band members, so that when it'll be a dress rehearsal, and I'm sure everybody will have it all put together. But for me, since I haven't been performing live, um, other than my acoustic shows, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Old Les Pauls through a Kemper. It's going to be great.
Yes.
And
So
then
throwing
this
it out into
Saturday,
the universe,
yeah.
a
And then this
A
Saturday is
Kemper
Brian.
edition to At the Bench featuring various artists.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool.
Great
It's
idea.
yeah,
Every once in a while, blind squirrel finds a nut.
yeah. By the way, speaking of squirrels, in
Hey.
my neighborhood was built in the 50s. It's all
Yeah.
brick ranchers, and then as you go back a little bit, it got into the 60s and 70s, and you
Yeah.
get into the fancier houses. But there's lots and lots of old trees, and there is a white squirrel working his way through the neighborhood. And the other day he was in our backyard, and I walk Stella in the morning, Sarah runs in the morning, so we see him in our travels. And there is an albino squirrel whom I have named Edgar,
Hmm.
and um, I doubt that many people know why I chose Edgar, but
I do,
Edgar Winter.
of
But
course.
it's really kind of cool. So
There's not a second Edgar.
interesting thing is Stella, being a little white Westie, she hates squirrels. She wants to consume them all.
Yeah.
but the white one ran in front of her and she just stopped and looked at it. It did not compute to her
That's a
because it
squirrel.
looked like a little version of her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, hey, number 14
Number 14, at the bench.
at the bench. And I
Tell
see,
your friends. Share this, people.
please
Share
share
it.
this.
Yeah.
Please share this.
It's about guitars. It's about
People,
people.
about
It's
taking
about
care of each other.
music communities. It's about a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
It's about doing the good work.
absolutely.
Yeah, whenever you can. It's about protecting your ears.
Huh?
Yeah. Still
Eh,
funny. Still funny.
I got to get one of those big old horns. Eh.
Yeah. All right, Greg.
All right, Rod.
At the bench, episode 14. It's a wrap. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself.
Be good.
Be good to yourself too. We can't forget that because it's like, yeah, take care of yourself. Your ears, your body.
Your toenails.
Don't be dumb, but be good to yourself. See ya.